Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's October 26, 2014, and this week we're going to be running down some ideas with smooth jazz melodies. Now, this week's question was sent in from Zach. He's out in Sherman Oaks, California, and he wrote in with this email. I've worked through both of your lessons on smooth jazz chords. My question is if you would consider making a fairly basic music lesson covering smooth jazz melodies. I really like this sound, and most of the melodies seem to always be fairly straightforward and catchy sounding. A smooth jazz melody lesson for an intermediate level student would be really cool. From Zach in Sherman Oaks, California, USA. Well, thanks for writing in, Zach. Smooth jazz is a really easy to listen to style that combines a lot of pop music sensibility with a number of jazz harmony concepts. And the way these melodies interact has just as much to do with the harmonies used as it does with the way we approach composing lines that are both easy to follow and easy to anticipate each upcoming melodic phrase. So let's run through a typical harmony idea and then try out a few different ways that a melodic line could interact with it. Well, before we head into the world of melody, I wanted to set up a backdrop harmony that would work as the background chord progression for our upcoming examples. So first, let me just get started here by playing through the chord changes that I established. They're going to be E minor 7 to B minor 7, and then we're going to come into this A major 7 chord. And the feel will be a little bit anticipated. We're going to have dotted quarter note coming in, moving along to an eighth tied to a dotted quarter. And then we'll have the second measure anticipated as well when that A major 7 comes in. So the count on that is going to be felt like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4 again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can sort of embellish that a little bit. Like, you don't have to keep it so straight. You could fool around with it a little bit more, you know. You can groove it up a bit, whatever you want to do. But anyway, as you can tell, even though the chord changes sound nice when they're performed, there's something different when it comes to their key center musically. From the initial movement of that E minor 7 to the B minor 7, we kind of get a bit of a sense of resolution there. It comes across almost like, in effect, something like a 4 chord moving into a 1 chord in the key of B minor. However, there's something of a surprise with the appearance after that of that A major 7 chord. It's almost like another sense of resolution. It's like we had that B now functioning almost as a 2 chord dropping down into a 1 chord. But things don't quite make sense, because now if A is 1, then, what is the E minor? Is it some kind of minor 5 chord against the A? So you can tell, this kind of surprise of the movement of the chords, the resolutions, it's played out in a way of a lot of interchanged chord qualities and harmonies. And, that approach is a really big part of the harmonies that are used in smooth jazz. So you maybe want to experiment with that. Don't really keep a lot of stuff real diatonic to the key center. Mess around with chord qualities. If something should be major, make it minor. If something should be dominant, I don't know, make it minor or whatever, make it major. Just mess around with them until you come up with some pretty nice lines. But that's going to be our chord progression for our other melodic work that we're going to do, and I'll just kind of play that one more time through for you. All right, next let's take a look at some ways that smooth jazz melodies operate. My first example is one that's both melodic, it's simple, it has a simple rhythm to it, there's no passing tones or anything fancy to it. The feel is mostly eighth notes, but what will stand out right away is the use of slides for the embellishments here. They're going to create a nice, smooth, connected sound, which is obviously important to this style of music. So first, here's how the melody sounds. You can tell it's very simple. But what's important to keep in mind with smooth jazz melodies is how they're very connected to the chord changes. Their rhythms, as well as how their chord tones work within the melody, will often directly link into the chord harmony of the background progression. Now, in my first melody example here, the minor third of that E minor 7 chord, the G note, is targeted. The B minor 7's fifth, the F sharp, is targeted. And on the A major 7, the major third, the C sharp, is targeted. So all of this occurs also at the exact rhythmic feel for how the chord changes are going to pass by. So here's the line once again, but this time I'm going to play it with the loop pedal in the background so you can hear those chord changes go by. Keep in mind that the phrase does have pickup notes, so we're going to have those come in on the second measure at the very end there on the fourth beat. Here we go. Smooth jazz melodies often alter their rhythmic phrasing, but yet still keep the chord tone targeting aspect in place. So for this next example, I've added in 16th note rhythms to produce more push upon the melodic effect. Here's how the line sounds now with the new increased 16th note rhythmic feel. You notice how the line gets a far busier feel to it with the addition of the 16th notes. It's a very different effect upon the line's phrasing, and it's something important to keep in mind when altering the phrasing of any smooth jazz melody. So here's the part one more time, played with the chord progression looped in the background off of the loop pedal. Well, in my final example, I wanted to demonstrate one more popular concept that we'll find in a lot of the smooth jazz melodies, and that's the addition of double stop phrases. So, double stops are, if you don't know about them, they're two-note chords that offer, diatonic thirds, or you could do sixth intervals, you could do perfect fifths or fourths, you could do octaves. But whatever you do with the two notes, they're going to create a fatter melodic line either around an existing progression, or it could be played on their own to create a standalone guitar idea. So here's a double stop part I came up with for the chord harmony that we've been looking at so far. So as you can tell, that double stop phrase is an excellent way to just really boost the effect of a melody. And even though these double stops work fantastic on their own, they also work great as a counterpart to another harmony. So to take us out for the lesson, I'm going to fire up my chord progression loop and play this double stop phrase over the original progression. Although smooth jazz melodies aren't really jazz melodies per se, at the same time, it also doesn't exactly sound like a pop melody or a blues or a rock or a country melody either. Smooth jazz in general seems to have a lot of its harmonic and melodic concepts more in common with a mix or a blend of several styles. It pulls some filtered ideas from the world of jazz. It might contain some, chromatic passing tones, something along the lines even of what we'll see in blues. So it pulls from that, and it even will give you some of a taste, soul music, a little bit of R&B in there as well. But the common thread to smooth jazz melody is basically simplicity. simplicity with its overall structure. It's easy to relate to, it flows in a balanced manner, and it behaves in expected ways with almost any listener being able to anticipate the next direction the lines will flow. So practice creating some chord changes and some accompanying melodic ideas using the concepts described in this lesson. They're very basic. You can take them further. You can add chromaticism and do all kinds of things. You can make them sound much more jazzy if you'd like to as well. I'm sure, though, in doing that, you're going to have a good deal of fun creating smooth lines and a little bit jazzy lines, but overall, I'm sure they'll be very expressive melodies. Anyway, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now. The Music Reading Phase 1 ebook has over 30 pages of comprehensive project lessons covering the entire fifth reading position on the guitar. Music reading charts and drills will work to help students memorize the placement of the fifth position notes, including important sharp and flat tones. Several original and classic pieces of sheet music will help students to gain a solid understanding for this region of the neck. Rhythm studies, duration examples, plus song and location drills along with 19 MP3 audio tracks makes this one of the best music reading courses available online. Music Reading Phase 1 is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at creativeguitarstudio.com.